Da Vinci and his art remain an enigma, full of clues to deeper stories he told through his paintbrush.
For 500 years, The Last Supper has been the most studied painting on Earth. Every brushstroke catalogued, every crack mapped, every restorer who ever stood in front of it convinced there was nothing left to find. They were wrong. An AI trained on Leonardo da Vinci's own handwriting just pulled something out of the wall behind Jesus that nobody in 5 centuries of looking ever saw. Not a smudge, not damage, a sentence.
I think he had some very subtle messages he wanted to convey to not the people of that time, but to the people of our time. And we have to look for it.
And once you understand what it actually says, the painting stops, meaning what you thought it meant. And a part of history quietly rewrites itself. The hidden mind. To understand what Rossi is staring at, you have to understand who she is staring at. Leonardo da Vinci did not trust the world with what was inside his head. Thousands of pages of his notebooks are written in mirror script, backward handwriting only legible in a reflection. Layered with invented shorthand and coded abbreviations, researchers are still untangling 5 centuries later. He was a man who buried ideas the way other people locked doors. He had every reason to. Leonardo lived in an era when the Catholic Church held near absolute authority over knowledge and independent thinking that questioned scripture could kill you. Galileo would later be placed under house arrest for suggesting the earth moved around the sun. Giordano Bruno would be burned alive for proposing similar ideas. Leonardo, whispered about for his unconventional lifestyle and his obsession with how the world worked, knew exactly what saying the wrong thing out loud would cost. So, he did not say it. He painted it. And whatever he painted was meant to stay buried until a mind not yet born came looking. No mistake. Here's where it gets strange. When Leonardo began The Last Supper in 1495 at Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan, he made a decision that baffled every painter alive. Instead of buon fresco, the standard technique of bonding pigment into wet plaster, he invented his own method. He mixed oil and tempera and applied it to dry plaster. Richer colors, finer detail, and paint that started flaking off the wall almost immediately. For 500 years, art historians filed this under Leonardo's rare failures. But his unusual technique accidentally created something a traditional fresco never could: layers. Multiple distinct physical layers of paint stacked on top of each other, where markings on a lower surface would be invisible from above. A message written into the plaster, then painted over, would be hidden from every restorer, every scholar, every X-ray technician working with older equipment. Stay with me. If you wanted to write something that could get you killed if anyone saw it, but you also wanted it to survive long enough for someone to eventually read it, you would need exactly this surface, a wall nobody would scrape, a method invisible to every tool that existed in your lifetime. Was that an accident? Or did Leonardo know exactly what he was building? Day 19. The hyperspectral scan data already exists, sitting in archives. The 2007 digitization captured the mural at 16 billion pixels. What Rossi's lab in Florence did was the next logical step. They fed those existing scans into a neural network trained on Leonardo's mirror script and his coded notebook vocabulary. Not new imaging, new eyes for data already on hand. For 2 weeks, the system produces nothing remarkable. Plaster degradation, imaging artifacts, background noise. Rossi sleeps on the cot in the corner of the lab, the one with the broken spring. Above her desk hangs a 2016 rejection letter from a peer review board that called her methodology, speculative pattern, projection, unfit for serious imaging research. She has not taken it down. She reads it on bad days. Her marriage ended in year 3 of this project. Her funding has been renewed twice on what colleagues quietly call sympathy votes. 8 years. Then on day 19, the system flags an anomaly. A cluster of faint markings in a section of wall directly behind Jesus. Not brush strokes, not plaster cracks, something else. The AI tags the markings with a 67% probability of being intentional script rather than random deterioration. 67%. Not conclusive, but enough to start a very loud argument. And before we keep going, I want to ask you something, because you are going to have an opinion on this by the end. If a hidden message really is woven into the Last Supper, Do you think the church knew? Drop your theory in the comments. And if this is the kind of buried history breakdown you came here for, hit subscribe so the next one lands in your feed. Now, back to the lab. The argument. Marco Ferretti, the team's senior imaging specialist, arrives at the lab before dawn. He takes one look at the flagged area and crosses his arms. Efflorescence, he says flatly. Mineral deposits leaching through the plaster. He has seen it 100 times. Rossi pulls up a comparison on the split screen. The flagged markings alongside a sample of Leonardo's mirror script from the Codex Arundel. The curved patterns are uncomfortably similar. The spacing is too regular. Efflorescence does not form consistent letter spacing, she tells him, and it does not repeat at predictable intervals across separate sections of a wall. Ferretti does not budge. He taps the screen twice with one knuckle, the way he does when he is dismissing a finding, and walks out. By 3 in the morning, the lab is emptied out. Rossi is alone. She pulls up a second scan from a different section of the wall, one the AI has not yet flagged, and feeds it into the network by hand. Outside the window, the Arno is the color of old iron. Inside, the only light is the monitor and the small red eye of the espresso machine she has not refilled in 2 days. The progress bar crawls, and then a new confidence score begins to resolve. The climb. Over the next 72 hours, the network processes additional sections. The shadowed regions beneath the table, the stone archways, the folds in the disciples' robes. The same type of markings keep appearing, not everywhere, not randomly. In specific recurring locations, always in the darker, less examined zones, exactly where a hidden layer of text would be least likely to be disturbed by a restorer's brush. The confidence scores climb. 71%, 78, 83. Individual letter forms begin resolving on the screen. Reversed characters consistent with Leonardo's mirror script. The system cross-references them against his known handwriting samples, and the match rate keeps rising. Isolated words emerge from the visual noise. Umbra, shadow, verita, truth, tradimento, betrayal. This is the part nobody can explain yet. Ferretti stops arguing. He does not announce that he is convinced. He just goes quiet, sits down in the chair behind Rossi, and does not get up for 9 hours. From the loudest skeptic in the room, that silence tells her everything. They are looking at Leonardo's handwriting, hidden beneath the most famous painting on Earth, and the AI has only finished scanning 12% of the surface. If this much was buried in 12% of the wall, what is buried in the other 88? The spiral. As more sections get processed, the fragments connect. Short phrases form, then longer ones. They are not placed randomly. The system detects a structural pattern, a spiral originating at Jesus' right hand and expanding outward, passing across each disciple in sequence. The placement follows proportions consistent with the golden ratio, the mathematical principle Leonardo was famously obsessed with. The words are not decoration, they are architecture. The first fully coherent phrase surfaces along the wall directly behind Jesus. Translated from Leonardo's archaic Florentine dialect, it reads, "All faith fades when light reveals the hand of man." Rossi reads it aloud. The lab goes silent. The line suggests that what people revered as divine might in fact be a human construction, that faith itself could dissolve the moment it was examined under proper light. In a painting depicting the foundational moment of Christian sacrifice, on a wall inside a church, that sentence is a quiet bomb. Leonardo did not just hide a message, he hid it behind the Christ they were worshiping. The messages. Then the AI flags the second one. Near the shadow of Judas Iscariot, the network pulls another line out of the darkness. "He who eats with truth will not betray himself." A third appears beneath Peter. "Strength without understanding is blind." Near Thomas, the apostle who famously doubted the resurrection until he touched the wounds himself, another resolves. To question is not sin, but the path to clarity. Each message is tied to a specific disciple. Each one quietly reframes that figure's biblical identity through reason rather than faith. These do not read like attacks on religion. They read like invitations. The accusation. Here is the part that makes your skin go cold. 2.5 centuries before Voltaire, Diderot, Rousseau, Hume, and Kant would drag European civilization into the Enlightenment, Leonardo had already encoded their arguments on this refectory wall. Then the AI uncovers something that changes the atmosphere in the room entirely. In the lower right section of the mural, buried beneath multiple layers of paint near the disciples' feet, the system assembles a longer passage. Those who hold power will bury truth beneath stone until the eyes of the future uncover it. That is not philosophy anymore. That is a direct accusation aimed at institutions that suppress knowledge. And it sounds like it is addressed to whoever would eventually be able to read it, to the future, to us. Ferretti, who has barely spoken in days, finally breaks the silence. He knew. He was writing to the future. The last layer. The deepest layer comes last. Beneath the original pigment of Jesus' robe, so faint that only maximum resolution hyperspectral imaging can detect it, the AI resolves a final inscription. Truth belongs not to saints, but to those who seek it in silence. Then the system does something nobody on the team explicitly programmed it to do. It assembles every recovered phrase in sequence, following the spiral from center to edge, and surfaces a unified statement. A single continuous sentence woven through all 12 disciples, surfacing only in the geometric order Leonardo himself dictated. Faith without reason is the sleep of truth, and those who wake shall see what was forbidden. 5 centuries, 1 sentence, hidden in plain sight. What changes? If the findings hold up under independent verification, the implications are enormous. The Last Supper would no longer be purely a devotional painting. It would be a dual-purpose work, a public commission fulfilling a religious contract on the surface, and a private act of intellectual rebellion hidden underneath. That reframes potentially every major Leonardo work. If he hid text here, did he hide it in the Mona Lisa? In the Virgin of the Rocks? In the Adoration of the Magi? Every Leonardo canvas in every museum on Earth would need to be rescanned. It would push the origins of Enlightenment-style reasoning back by more than 2 centuries. Leonardo would not just be a Renaissance genius who painted beautifully. He would be a covert philosopher who used art as encrypted communication to bypass the most powerful censorship apparatus in Western history. And it raises a question almost nobody is ready to ask out loud. How many other Renaissance masters were doing the same thing? How many canvases in the Louvre, the Uffizi, and the Prado are carrying encoded arguments no eye has ever seen? When the findings go public, the reaction is exactly as chaotic as Rossi predicted. The Vatican issues a statement acknowledging the technological achievement while cautioning against premature conclusions. The hashtag Da Vinci Decoded trends globally for 11 days. Independent analyses from MIT, Amsterdam, and Kyoto confirm the markings are statistically inconsistent with natural plaster degradation. The question is no longer whether the hidden text is real. It becomes what it means, and who gets to decide. Leonardo did not just paint the Last Supper, he built a time capsule inside it, addressed not to his contemporaries who would have burned him for it, but to a future world with the technology to finally read what he left behind. A machine trained on his own handwriting opened the capsule 500 years late. What it pulled out was not a signature. It was a conversation he started in 1497, buried in the dark of a Milan refectory, waiting for a mind not yet born. That mind turned out to be ours. So, tell me in the comments, if Leonardo really did hide a message this radical inside the Last Supper, what was he trying to warn us about? And which other masterpiece do you think is hiding the next one? The Mona Lisa, the Sistine ceiling, something nobody has thought to scan yet? Drop your theory below. I read every single one. And if this video rewired something in your brain, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because we are just getting started pulling back the curtain on what history has been quietly hiding.